Guys, I'm not in frame because I'm blind at the moment. So this is episode 11. This is the start of book 8, or as I would say, book 8, Sin, the side stories.
It's like Cliff Notes of 8, kind of. It's like the overarching story in 8.
But for Cliff Notes, it's done pretty well.
Yeah, there's a couple things in there. So, like, you get Ares coming to the, Orario, the city, and they're getting their butts handed to them. There
is quite a bit of CGI in this episode, but I think it's, for the most part, done pretty well.
Like, it's better than some other shows I've seen, so, I think it's alright. It's like, it's not jarring, at least.
So, in this episode, you get Hestia and Belle have a falling out. You get Hirheim getting into the Familia and trying to hold hands.
Yes, I love that they adapted that, because I don't know if, obviously there's going to be people that have watched our reviews that are watching this now. So I love, if you've watched that review, you know that I like that scene a lot. So, but yeah, there's, I don't know, there's like a lot of subtle hints to different stories that happen in this book, but we don't actually get them. It's kind of like, they're saving them, like you said, for like an OVA or OVA, however you guys want to say it. So that's good. There's like, I think the thing I like the most out of like that is I like how they do this whole thing with the loving the gods thing with Wealth and Mikado. I do like that Belle still gets to talk with a couple other of the gods and goddesses, Miyachi and Hephaestus. I don't remember the way they said it. We caught it once and then
I lost it.
Yeah,
Hephaestus something.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so that little moment too. You get Hermes doing his thing again. Probably the best, I will say, probably the standout for me of this episode, besides like, that little moment with dropping the relationship thing. They remixed that. But I love Ganesha in this. That part is great, especially when they're getting ready to, rescue Hestia because she has been kidnapped by him. Just seeing little stuff like that. I think the comedy aspect of this episode was handled really well, but the fighting stuff is a little...
Yeah, the fighting stuff is a little weaker. I mean, obviously they rush
it a bit too. I mean, it's what they do. They got 2 more episodes left. They kind of have to do that. I had a stroke there instead of twice.
Also a good. See, because I don't know. I need to go back and like read the specifics of the book, but I think they did handle well. Like Aisha in this episode, she's doing
I
fun things.
forgot about that. Yeah, like that is really great too.
Yeah, but she talks about like how Hirheim wasn't actually a prostitute, that because she falls asleep or whatever. But I think that was done well. That it's like let Belle and let it be a redemption story, and like it doesn't really matter.
Which we're split on. I'm pretty sure that was the same way in the book, but he thinks it's a little bit different. Which either way, it was great in the show. Yeah. But let us know, because like there's a divide here. It's not like we're not.
We could go back and read it, but I mean, who cares? I mean, I can read the book again, but it'd probably take me a little bit to find it. But yeah, no. So that's pretty great, and again, you get more of them as a Familia, and you kind of get I think you get a pretty good feel about what the interaction in the Familia is going to be now that Lily is there, Hirheim is there.
Well, and they even touch on like Lily's feelings too, which is going to be important for if they touch on that. Yeah. So I was glad that they added that as well. Overall, it's pretty like covers everything that happened. Like the first. At least kind of like overarching, like in the first part of the book. So they're I'm pretty sure we're gonna get the end of it by episode 12. Which, spoiler, we already watched, so I know. But
yeah, and also I mean I think the things that they had to cut for time, the chase scene, like when they're chasing and trying to catch up, you don't really get to see like the grand scale. Like there's actually like 1 or 2 lines that Eyes and Belle have together in that scene that I actually liked, where he's like trying to catch up and he's struggling, and he's like, no, I'm gonna. But in this one, it's like, they just ran and they found him.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I think it was done decently. They didn't skip too many major things. Again,
yeah, it is kind of like I do like. I'm glad you brought up the Eyes thing, because this is like one of the moments like in the book that I do like seeing Eyes in it, because it doesn't feel just like a shoehorn thing. Because every time we really see her is when like they're training and Belle's got to get stronger for this big thing that's happening, which is fine, but like for her character, it doesn't do any favors,
Yeah.
So, like, this part I did like. There's a few things that they skip over, like you were saying, that's like, would have been nice to see, especially for, like, people that want to try to like Eyes a little bit more, because there's a little bit of that end to end. But,
yeah, I think...
It's very choppy, though, towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, no, the end is definitely rushed. I'm trying to, I was trying to conceptualize if 3 episodes would have made this adaptation better. And I really don't know, because how they decided to do it without having the side stories in there, it is kind of weird. I think, my problem mainly is probably just not having the side stories done alongside with the adaptation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, 3 episodes would have really solved the core issue that I have with it.
There is one thing which I guess I'll say it here. It kind of really belongs in episode 12 probably, but I'll just mention it here because, obviously we're going to be talking about different things. But, it's pretty evident that, the next episode is going to be, finishing out that conflict that you saw in this episode. Some of the other overarching things that happens that has to do with Ares specifically is not shown, and it's really not touched on at all in the next episode either. Which is kind of sad because Wealth has a huge thing.
2 huge things.
Yeah, 2 huge things. One of them could be saved for an OVA, but I think the one thing in particular is such a great. It's his whole reasoning for how he decides to use his skills and how he decides to use that as a help to the Familia, and just feeling we're not going to see that even in an OVA. I'm kind of well, that's kind of disappointing. They could remix it because they did some of the remixing already for this episode, but yeah, I don't know. It kind of runs me the wrong way a little bit, but overall, it is what it is. I think either way, whether or not you care about comparing it as an adaptation for source material or whatever, it's still a little choppy though. It's a little jarring when you watch it towards the end.
It was clear that they. It's not, I don't know if they expended all their budget from the fights from the previous 2 episodes, but it was clear that they were all right, let's just, they run around and stuff.
It was it felt like it was a little rush, a little bit. But I do there's, again, they do put in subtle, little details that they really don't have to do. But I for instance, in the book, you get to see that the merchants are coming out and actually trying to sell them for healing items. I love that they showed that. You also get the Aisha thing about she's with the other Amazons that survived, and they're ooh, let's go rape some of the men that are on the battlefield wounded.
It's legitimate business.
Yeah, it's they're just trying to
make money,
do what they got to do. But yeah, so they still do good stuff like that, but yeah, it's just kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, and you get to see Dwarf from
Gareth,
Loki
right? Yeah. So
he's pretty cool until his whole family, Ilya, is not, and then he's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really wish we could have seen one frame, because they did. I will admit it is funny the way they did it, where they have Ares' army going and then retreating back in the same thing. I do like that, but I really wish we could have seen maybe at least one shot of the right by the walls where Otter's just taking one sword and killing out 20 people, because they're all level 1s and 2s, which they don't really explain that well, but they go over
they say they're normal soldiers, but
yeah, so
what is that?
They touch on it, but yeah, that's really all I have to say about this episode. So,
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this short because we're trying to get all these out, play catch up. So episode 12's little video should be up shortly after this because we're going to be recording it right now. So we'll see you guys.
Some behind the scenes action right there.
That really is. That's an extra cut for you guys. So anyway,
later.
Peace.